All right. Hello, everybody, to the second week of the Sport Port. We're going to have a little bit of a longer video today. I don't want to keep them too long. I don't want this being like a show, just going over stuff, going over our picks, stuff like that, from the picks we had made Friday to the picks that we are going to make tonight, and just going over some of the news that I felt like talking about, just a couple of the games. I'm not going to go through every single one individually about what team did what and stuff like that. I definitely want this to be more of a betting channel, but I like talking about the news a bit too, just trying to dip in some of this other stuff. So what we're going to start out with today actually is our Sunday picks, which is what we did Friday. We went through, we picked a bunch of the teams, and we did just what team we think would win, which we'll go over that first, and then our actual picks for the spreads and the over-unders and that. So just starting it off, Vikings Saints, we had the Vikings winning. No bets on that one, but we were correct there. It was an interesting game. That's one of the ones we're actually going to talk about, but right now I'm just going through them. So yeah, we picked the Vikings. Vikings won. We picked the Chargers, and the Chargers won against the Texans. We picked the Giants, and the Giants won against the Bears. We picked the Lions against the Seahawks. That's another game we're going to talk about, so I don't want to go too in depth, but geez, 48-45 it was an exciting game to watch. You never know with the Lions if they're going to come back or not. But we were wrong on that one, so we're 3-1 right now. Then we picked the Falcons to beat the Browns, which did happen. That was a good game. So then we had the Titans and the Colts. We picked the Colts. They did not win on that one. What an interesting team. They tie week 1 with the Texans, then get blown out by the Jaguars, and then they beat the Chiefs, and then they lose to the Titans. Interesting team, but it's whatever. I know Jonathan Taylor went down in that, but still, interesting game. Commanders versus Cowboys, we picked the Cowboys. They won. Bills and Ravens, we picked the Bills. That was a closer one, but it hit. Jaguars and Eagles, we picked the Eagles. They won. Jets and Steelers, we picked the Steelers. They did not win, but I liked Pickens out there. Pickens looked pretty good. We might actually talk about him later. I'm excited for that. Then we got the Cardinals-Panthers. We picked the Cardinals. They won. Then we got the Broncos-Raiders. We picked the Raiders. They won. Didn't think they would go 0-4, so we were right on that, although Broncos didn't look too bad. Then we got Patriots-Packers. We picked the Packers. They won in overtime. Going to talk about that later. Chiefs, Buccaneers, Chiefs won. So I would say we did pretty good. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games from yesterday that we got correct. Out of 14. So that's how much I thought it was. Just making sure I don't want to give false information. So 11 for 14 is not bad at all. We did pick some underdogs there, so that's pretty nice. I think the Bears might have been actually favored. I know that the Falcons were not favored in that one, and they won. I know that the Cardinals were actually not favored in that one, and they won. So that was a good week for us on that front there. But we will go over our bets here. So Browns-Falcons game we nailed. We took Falcons plus 1.5. That hit, and under 47.5. That hit. It was kind of close, 20-23. So 43 points. We were just a couple off. But it hit under. Both of them hit. Good there. Then we picked Bills-Ravens over 51. I thought Lamar Jackson, being Lamar Jackson, was still going to put up a crazy amount of points against a really good defense. And the Bills would have to catch up. And it was kind of like that. He did in the first half, and then they had a scoreless second half. So didn't fully happen. Over 51 is what we picked. It was actually, where is it here? 23-20, so 43, pretty far off. Didn't get that one. Then we had Cardinals-Panthers. Cardinals plus 1.5 we had. Didn't even need it. Could have taken a money line I thought they were going to win. And we picked over 43.5. Those overs and unders for a lot of these games were just because we also took the other one. It's just you can put this with it if you want to add those points together. not add those points together too. You can either buy points or sell points or whatever you want to do. That's the way that I talked about it then. I'll go a little more into it tonight if you guys want. So when we make our picks for tonight's game. So yeah, Cardinals, Panthers. Cardinals got it. Over 43.5 is what we picked. It did not hit. It was actually 26-16, which is 42 points. So we were 1.5 points off on that one. But if you bought the points, like I said, you would have hit on that one. So pretty good on picks there. 3 out of 5. But if you picked, like I said to, you would have gotten more than that. So you would have been 4 out of 5. So not too bad there for our picks, especially going 11 for 14. That's pretty good, I would say. So we're good on the Sunday picks. Take that off the screen here. Now we got the week 4 news that we're just going to dive into a little bit before we go into tonight's game. I don't know the spread for tonight's game. I do know the player props that I like, but we'll go into those pretty soon here. I'm just going to pull them up just so I can have them down here so I can show you guys, because I was unable to make a screen for it to throw up over here. Being really janky with me today, so pretty easy to go through, but I only got 2 that I got a couple that I like, but I'll let you know what my confident actual ones are. So we'll talk about the Patriots holding up. I didn't super get to watch this game. I was out with the girlfriend for her birthday. Didn't really get to watch it. I knew it went in overtime. I was super nervous about it, but we ended up losing in overtime, which really sucks. But going into overtime against Aaron Rodgers with our third string quarterback is not the worst thing in the world. Bailey Zappi, from what I saw, didn't do terrible or anything. So I'm pretty happy about that. We can go look at his stuff here. 10 for 15, 99 yards, and a touchdown, no interceptions, 113 QBR. I'm completely cool with that. Ramondre Stevenson looked all right. Damian Harris looked pretty good. So that kind of put it together there. I know Aaron Rodgers, I did get to see this when he threw a pick 6. That was very interesting. He does not throw picks often, and he throws pick 6 never, pretty much. So, but Aaron Jones looked good. A.J. Dillon also looked pretty good. Allen Lazard had a good game, 6 for 116. And then I do know Romeo Doubs dropped a touchdown pass. I believe it was Doubs in the end zone. So that's very rough for them. Don't quote me on it being Doubs, but it was a close one there for sure. And I was very excited to see that. When you're on your third string quarterback and the other team is favored by 9.5 points going into it, you're just expecting the worst and hoping it's, close. And this was very close. It was overtime close, which is about as close as you can get just for, ending up losing. But I am very hopeful with that. That is very good to see. It could have been worse. And like I said, Bailey Zappi looked good. I think he should be out there instead of Hoyer, probably, but we'll have to see what happens. I don't know how bad Hoyer's injury is, but we'll see what exactly happens there. So, Patriots game, they held up, didn't lose. I don't really talk about them because I'm a fan, but sadly that wasn't a game I got to watch. So, but that's all right. Not a huge deal, I have NFL Plus. I can go back and look at it and that, so I'll probably be doing that. But next up, we got Raiders' first win. I just want to talk about this because we talked about it before, how disappointing they were and everything. And they came out, and it wasn't the best game ever. Jamal Williams got hurt, which, I do want to take a moment, say absolutely awful. He's in his sophomore season, I believe, and you tear your ACL and your LCL. It's devastating. Feel awful for him. He is an amazing player to watch, but now they're going to have Melvin Gordon and Mike Boone out there. So Melvin Gordon fumbles. He has been fumbling lately. Mike Boone, don't really know much about him. I know he's not the greatest pass catcher, I've heard, but still awful what happened to Williams. Really sucks. And then, the receivers did all right. Like, nothing crazy. KJ Hamler had the most yards and was off one reception and that. And, I mean, they lost anyway. Maybe they could have been, won with Javonte out there the whole time, but that didn't happen. Derek Carr didn't look amazing. 21 for 34, 188 yards. Josh Jacobs, though, 28 attempts, which is insane. 144 yards. And he had 5 receptions for 31 yards. He had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. And then, Devontae Adams, he looked pretty good out there. Mac Hollins had a really good catch on the sideline, but it wasn't in. It was for the end zone, and he wasn't in, but it was still pretty crazy that he even caught it in the first place. But, yeah, so they won. Wasn't the prettiest win, but both teams looked better yesterday. Patrick Surtain in that looked really good. Russell Wilson in that didn't look terrible, So hopefully these two, this was a division game. Hopefully these two can shape it up. I kind of want that AFC West to be crazy, to be an absolute fight for getting that. And, with the way the Broncos and the Raiders have been looking, I guess the Chargers haven't looked amazing either, and the Chiefs have, but I'm really hoping that we just get to see like an all-out war in that division there, just because it's fun, If you have a really, really good team, these 4 really, really good teams all going up against each other, that's fun to see, because they all know they have to play their absolute best. So I'm excited about the division. Seems like they're shaping up a bit. It could always change up by the end of the season where Raiders started off 0-3 and then they can come back and get in the playoffs. You never know. So that was an interesting game. I'm just glad that they got their first win. Like I said, still disappointing season so far, but it is what it is. I think they'll shape it up. Lions. I put Lions 50-50 here for one reason, and that is that they have like the most points scored on the season. They have like the best offense so far, but they also have the worst defense so far. Getting scored, like having 48 points scored against you is bad. That's bad if the Chiefs do it to you. They had the Seahawks do it to them. It's absolutely insane to me. Geno Smith out there looked amazing. 23 for 30, 320 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Rashad Penny ran all over him. 17 attempts, 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf looked amazing. Tyler Lockett looked great. DK Metcalf was 7 receptions for 149 yards. Tyler Lockett, 6 receptions for 91 yards. They looked great out there. Then on the Lions side, yes, they were missing DeAndre Swift. Yes, they were missing Amon-Ra St. Brown. Could they have scored more with them? Obviously, yes. But, their defense just has to hold up. They are playing under the level of whoever they are against. They can hold one team. They just play like to their right under whatever they are going against level. So then they can score a bunch of points and then just keep it out of the reach for their offense. If they make 2 or 3 more stops in this game, like they win it by touchdowns, but they just cannot stop anybody at all. Jared Goff, he looked decent. 26 completions, 39 attempts, 66% passer completion percentage. 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Jamal Williams, 19 attempts, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson had an amazing day. 8 receptions, 179 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had an amazing 81-yard catch and run for the end zone. Absolutely insane game to watch. Super exciting. I want to see the Lions succeed. Hard Knocks got me sold on the Lions, and I really, really want to see them succeed. I like their coach. I like their players. There isn't a person on that team that I do not like, but they just cannot. That defense will not let them win, and it is so disappointing to see week after week. It sucks. We'll also go over this. It was a scoregami. I put that down a little more here. So just an interesting thing to have happen. That ending score has never ever happened in the history of the NFL before. Those are always fun. Just, people celebrate it. Like I see, 20 TikToks about like scoreagami, like let's go. Just because I don't know why, but they're super fun. It's always cool to see a brand new score that you've never seen before. But that's just cool. Wanted to put it in there so I didn't forget. And, very interesting game. And it didn't scoreagami. Lions need to put it together, obviously. But very fun game to watch. Then you can talk about the Vikings. I got Kirk on so many fantasy teams as my backup QB. And it was so rough watching him yesterday. It was terrible. Just because, he'd just throw it like 30 yards down the field for Thielen. And then the next one, like when Justin Jefferson, dropped that one pass, yes, it was behind him because Kirk Cousins got pressured and had someone in his face hitting him. Kirk is pressured every single play. So when he throws some bad passes and then people want to talk bad about Kirk. Like, no, he is pressured constantly. There were some drops in the game. It was not pretty. The defense did not hold up as well as you would hope. Dalvin Cook isn't 100%. He's walking around with the brace on his shoulder or whatever, but he looked decent. 25 completions, 38 attempts. Could have been a couple more. 273 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Could have had another touchdown. He could have had 2 other touchdowns too. So I'm not crazy worried about him, but geez, it just sucks to watch when he's on your fantasy team. Just like I'm sure it sucked when, Justin Jefferson dropped that pass if you have Justin Jefferson. But it really sucks when you hand it off to Justin Jefferson for him to run it into the end zone. That's even worse. I don't even want to think about that. But it was a good game to watch. It was the London game. I'm sure they had a lot of fun there because it came down to the wire. But the Vikings pulled it off. Saints, very injured. Hopefully the Vikings can put it together a little bit more, especially on the offensive line, and just not let him get pressured every single time, every single game, But I think they'll put it together. I'm still very high on the Vikings. I was very high on the Vikings and the Eagles coming into this. Vikings are 3-1. Eagles are 4-0. Knew they were going to be super good. I was getting Jalen Hurts as much as I could, and I was getting Kirk Cousins as much as I could. Really liked both of those teams coming into this year, and I'm still feeling pretty good about both of them. Vikings, you watch some of their stuff, and you don't know if they're going to be 3-1 or not. But, they went up against the Saints. They went against the Lions, and they barely pulled that one off. They lost to the Eagles. But, that was at the Eagles, and that was a primetime Kirk Cousins, which is just awful. And then they crushed the Packers. So 23-7 in the first week. But they're an interesting team. I'm very excited about them still, along with the Eagles. And I'm also, there are obviously some teams like I've said before, Patriots are number one. If they face anybody, I'm going to root for them. If, the Vikings face these guys, I'm going to root for the Vikings. If the Eagles face these guys, I'm going to root for the Eagles. If the Lions face these guys, I'm going to root for the, there's tiers to it where I'm going to root for some teams, I'll never root for, like, the Buccaneers. I'll never root for, the Steelers. I can root for players on them. Like, I want Kenny Pickett to do good. I want George Pickens to do good because I got them both in fantasy. But, and I also just like George Pickens. He seems pretty cool. But, there's some teams you'll just never root for. There's some teams where you would rather have them win than this team. And it's fine to do that. Just don't be like, yeah, I'm rooting for like the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Eagles right now just because they're like the best in the NFL and the Bills, If you're an all-around bandwagon fan, that's worse than just a singular bandwagon fan. But not what we're trying to do here. So that's most of the week 4 news. Nothing too crazy there. But now we're looking at tonight's game. Very excited for tonight's game. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to do a bit better. I do not know who is favored. I know they are at the 49ers. And like I said, I have my spreads here for the picks for the player props. And I'll go over those really quick right now just because I have them. Jimmy Garoppolo, more than 2.5 rushing yards. It's just such a low number. And I feel like they're going to get pressure on him. They got Aaron Donald. And, they have Aaron Donald. They have a very good defense. It's going to be hard to not have to run at least once. And you can get 2.5 yards in one run, even as a quarterback that isn't the most mobile. 2.5 yards is not much. That's not one of the ones I'm most confident about. Brandon Ayuk, more than 51.5 receiving yards, I am very confident about. So I can put that in here. Over 51.5 receiving yards. So we'll just put Ayuk. Everybody knows who Ayuk is. So these are the Monday Night Football bets. So that's the one we are most confident about. And then we are also pretty confident in the Cooper Cup. And he gets fed every single game. They have a very good defense on the 49ers, but Cooper Kupp is just going to get 13 targets like he always does, and we'll just have to see exactly what happens there. We can come back here and we can look at some of their scores that happened. We come in here, how many targets did he get last week? Hell, he even had a rushing one, but last week I know it wasn't his best. Yeah, he had 4 for 44, which is not very good at all. But the week before that, he gets 11 for 108. He is more often than not hitting that number. When they went up against the Bills, what are they looking at here? Cooper up 13 for 128 against a good Bills defense. When they went against the Bengals, or that was preseason, my bad. Yeah, that was preseason. I'm used to looking at 4 games here because I was going through some of the other games and looking at them, but that was preseason because their 4th game is tonight. But he is more often than not hitting above that 93.5, and I think that could easily happen in this game. So I'm not too worried about that one. So those are my 2 most confident ones. I'll just throw Kupp there. But the other ones that I have taken, so Jimmy Garoppolo, more than 2.5 rush yards. Brandon Ayuk, more than 51.5 receiving yards. Deebo Samuel, less than 29.5 rush yards. It's always scary taking the less on certain guys. Deebo Samuel could rip off a 30-yard run in one play. He could. But last week, he got his head hit a little bit. I think they're going to use Jeff Wilson Jr. a little bit more, and I don't think they're going to be running a ton. I think they're going to be passing a little bit more. So let me look at something really quick here, just to make sure. Yeah, so Trent Williams, not looking the best. He's not playing, so that obviously hurts, but I think they're going to be passing a bit because they're going to have to. So obviously Trent Williams being out hurts both of those, but I think with the Deebo thing, that hurts their run, and they're not going to be able to get as many rush yards. Brandon Ayuk, I think, is just going to be the primary target, so he's going to hit that pretty easily. And like I said, he's going to get pressured, especially with Trent Williams out. I was just seeing how long he was out for. More than 2.5 rushing yards. Then I got Matthew Stafford, more than half an interception. I think he's thrown 5 interceptions this year already. 3 in one game, 2 in another, and then 0 in one. But that 0 is the one they've passed in the least, and that I feel like they'll be passing a decent amount tonight. And then Cooper Kupp, 93.5 receiving yards. Went over that. That's one of my confident ones, just because he always gets fed the ball pretty much. So I'm not worried about that one at all. He's already hit that on 2 out of the 3 games they've played this year. So him hitting it tonight would not be crazy at all. So now we're going to do our thing of guessing the spread. So it's at the 49ers, But, they have Jimmy G in that now, who's just kind of getting back into things. So I would have to say that the Rams, even though they haven't looked the best, are still 2-1 right now. So I would have to say that they are probably favored by 2.5, maybe. It's going to be a pretty low number. Okay. I knew it was going to be a pretty low number, but it's actually the 49ers are favored, -1.5. So that's a little surprising to me. Over-under is 42.5, which is also very low. These teams haven't been scoring a ton lately, so that's not insane to see or anything. You come back and you look at their games, what their scores are. They've scored 20 against the Cardinals, and that's a pretty bad defense. 31 against the Falcons, not the best defense. 10 against the Bills, that is a decent defense. So they're probably not going to score a ton against the pretty good 49ers defense. And then you can come over here and you can look at the 49ers, go to their games. They've scored 10 against the Broncos, 27 against the Seahawks, 10 against the Bears, and that's it. So Bears defense is decent, and that was a very rainy game, and that was Trey Lance in that. 49ers Seahawks was Jimmy Garoppolo ended up coming in and did that. And then they went against the Broncos, which is a really good defense, scored 10 points. So I would probably go, 42.5 is very low, but I would have to say the under on this. So I would probably, if I was going to take something, this is not one that I would do. I would take probably Rams, plus 1.5 and under 42.5. But I would obviously do my thing where I actually make it different. So I would add 6 points to this. So I would go 48.5 instead for that. So under 48.5. And then Rams plus 7.5. And I think that is obviously much better. I can come in here really quick. It'll take me a second. I'm trying to come up with this fast just because I didn't get here until a little while ago. This is obviously not coming up at the time that I wanted it to come up. But if we go to buy sell points and we take the Rams plus 7.5, that's minus 310. You would have to bet $310 to get $100, which isn't very great. Those are not odds you super want. So then we're going to go under 48.5. So if we look at that, it's minus 295. So if we take them in a parlay together and we throw 100 on it, you get $77. Just because 100 is kind of what they go off of there. That's the whole thing is, minus 129 means you have to bet 129 to get 100. That's just how they do the stuff. They go off of 100 pretty much. So, that's not bad at all. Bet 100, get 77. If both of those hit, you're going multiple points in each direction. So, completely cool with that. This is what I would do tonight. Ayuk, Cup, Rams, plus 1.5, under 42.5. So, I am feeling pretty good about that. That's what we're going to end it on today. I'll leave this up just so we can go over it tomorrow. I'm very excited for the game tonight. I won't be able to watch all of it because I'm going to hop on the Swas Take Sports podcast. So, I stopped by to watch that. This is just going to go up. As soon as I get done, it'll probably be like 2:30 that this goes up. Depends on how long it takes to process and that. But thanks to anybody who stopped by. Good luck on anything that you bet tonight. Hope stuff went pretty good for you yesterday. We did pretty good over here. And I will see you guys tomorrow.